something specific that you wanted to bring to Supermansion from the comic book world that you thought hadn't been made fun of before, hadn't been touched on before?
Well, I thought that I could bring maybe just actual superheroes that were funny instead of making, just jokes about superheroes. And I think that people that have grown up reading comic books and have seen a lot of comic books, I think all the jokes about, where do they wash their tights? Well, I think those have all been made before, so I kind of wanted to create just funny superheroes as opposed to make jokes about superheroes, Mm-hmm. And I love superheroes. I mean, I was thinking if I was going to make a comedy show, I want them to be superheroes just because I love looking at superheroes, I love watching superheroes, I love the colors. They're just fun to me.
It's like, how did you come up with the idea? What was the process of getting this to an actual full-fledged idea?
Well, I had started writing on Robot Chicken because I had met Matt Sunrise through Wizard magazine. And I had met him. Wizard had a contest where you would make a short film about superheroes. And so me and my friends made these funny superhero videos. So after a while, Matt came to me and said, hey, we should make our own show. You should sit down with me. We should make some superheroes and just do something about them living in a house, which was basically what your dumb little videos were about. So we sat down and over a year just started coming up with these characters. And a lot of them, you can kind of tell, started as riffs on other characters. But then I do feel like that's funny for a second, They need to actually be funny characters that can go on and have their own thing going on. So we spent a lot of time on making sure they were actually funny. And I think it also just came from, after working on the Star Wars specials and the DC Comics specials, just wanting to do longer stories and stretch our legs with that stuff.
How did the idea of Jewbot come about?
Well, I love that idea of a robot trying to figure out what it means to be human or trying to interact with other humans. For some reason, that never gets old to me. And then my partner Matt said, well, I think one of these characters should be Jewish. And I said, oh yeah, that sounds good. And then it just kind of struck us both. What if the robot found out that the person who designed him was a Jewish woman? And, if you read, by the laws of the Torah, that means that he's a Jewish robot. And how would he, he would take that and run with it. And it just creates a fun way for him to explore religion, culture, through the lens of a robot, which I find charming.
Having worked with Robot Chicken on Adult Swim and then moving with this series going to Crackle, what did you find to be different in the way that it seems like Adult Swim really doesn't have that much that they tell you can't do?
Right.
Versus Crackle being on the internet, there's basically nothing you can't do.
Right. So we have longer conversations about what we will pixelate and what we won't, because it does come down to a taste thing, because it's on the internet. And it's strange doing Robot Chicken for so many years and doing those uncensored DVDs. Sometimes you discover that a bleep is funnier than actually having the swear word, or pixelating a puppet's penis is less distracting than having to stare at a puppet's penis while you're watching the scene, Sometimes it's better to pixelate or censor things. So it's just made us really ask ourselves, how far do we want to push it? Because now it's all on us creatively, how far we want to go.
You have a lot of amazing, obviously include yourself, people with comedic...
Thank you.
People with comedic backgrounds who obviously are really just at the top of their art, and you guys all obviously improv a lot. I mean, how does it work with stop motion? Do you ever have to go back and do stuff again because you've just suddenly come up with something insane that you're just like, this is freaking hilarious and we have to have this, or,
Well, with stop motion, because we can't shoot coverage, we can only shoot as much as we need because it takes so long. So before we shoot anything, we record all the voices and cut it together with the storyboards and an animatic. So we kind of know how the episode's going to look before we shoot anything. But what that means is in the booth, it's still early enough that if Keegan-Michael Key comes on, and in the pilot, there's a scene where he sort of plays a villain, and he's, kind of shouting from this helicopter that's taking off. and he just went on this run telling the helicopter pilot to take off, come on, man, you got to go. I'm yelling at these guys. It's not funny. It's not cool unless we're actually taking off. And he just went for 5 minutes. And you hear that and you're like, well, this is obviously going in the show. But since it's early enough, it lets you actually cut that stuff in. You can have more boards drawn. And, you don't want to have Keegan-Michael Key or Bryan Cranston or Jillian Bell on your show and not be able to let them do their thing. Yeah. It'd be such a waste of their talent. So it's awesome. Sometimes it makes you wish you would come up with what they come up with, but it's always fun. It makes the show so much better.